Good evening, everyone. Rob Orson with the Emerging Revolutionary War with Billy Griffith. We're at a very cool spot here in East Cambridge, Massachusetts. Behind us is the marker, Lechmere Point, marking the spot where the British regulars land here on the west-north side of the Charles River. This marker was just moved. My last visit here was actually about 10 yards over in that direction. It's very hard to see. You couldn't really get a good picture, but luckily they've moved it, and now you can come out here and you can see it. So our last video, we were talking about Revere landing. Right about that same time, as Revere's crossing the river, the regulars are starting to come across the Charles River from the Boston Common. They're going to form up in the Common. Keep in mind, these are light infantry grenadiers. Those will go more in a second. They start coming over. This is a marshy area, and these British regulars come over here in this marsh. It's going to be a very delayed march, and it's really impacted what's going to happen in Lexington. But Billy's going to talk a little bit about these regulars, because Billy is our British mark. He's pro-British of our bunch, so we thought this was perfect for you.
So the motto of a good historian is without censor or praise. So
there you
I
go.
choose to be as objective to both sides as possible while tackling this stuff. But this is really cool for me because, full disclosure, this is actually the first time I'm out here near Lechmere Point seeing this monument. That's why I love coming on these trips with the RW, because I see a lot of stuff and learn a lot of stuff that I did not see or know before. But really excited to be out here basically right at the moment that the British troops will be landing here to begin their expedition towards Concord, about 20 plus so miles away. Now, we talked a lot about Paul Revere and his alarm riders. Well, what are they actually responding to? Why are they spreading this alarm? Well, it's because British troops have been given orders to leave Boston to get out to the countryside to take the arms and equipment that are stashed away at Concord. Now, this is not news to anybody, okay? This is not the first time the British Army has tried to do this. Concord is a known target for the British, and the people who live there, the people in the countryside, are very well aware of that as well. So they are prepared to react to any kind of British movement into the countryside. But also, there's a lot of telltale signs that something is in the works here, and it really all begins weeks before this expedition even takes off, when the British Navy that is out in Boston Harbor, out in the Charles River, under Admiral Samuel Graves, they are ordered by Gage, after he receives orders from Lord Dartmouth, to move and suppress this rebellion, take the arms, take the equipment, capture Hancock, capture Adams, do all he can to end this now. But Thomas Gage is going to give his peer, Admiral Graves, orders to begin making preparations to prepare longboats to carry the British troops from Boston across the river here towards Cambridge, so they can move overland towards Concord. Well, Graves is apparently not a very smart man. He doesn't work very well with Gage, and he's going to make these preparations well in advance and put these longboats out in the open off his ships of the Royal Navy, so people know something is up. Finally, this expedition will come to fruition in the days leading up to April 18th, April 19th. Gage is going to task Lieutenant Colonel Francis Smith of the 10th Regiment of Foot, a very cautious, very capable officer, somebody Gage could trust to think clearly and not touch things off as an impulse. So Smith is going to be in the command of a column of about 800 to 900 men. Now, the interesting thing about it is Gage chooses to select all of the light infantry and grenadier companies from his regiments that he has garrisoned around Boston. What are grenadiers? Well, they are the big brawny guys with the big bearskin hats. Back in the day, they used to throw big grenades while storming fortresses, but now really they are just used as imposing figures, as shock troops against their adversaries. The light infantry, smaller guys, more so like me, they're a little nimble, a little quicker. They are going to have cut jackets, shorter hats. They'll be able to move through brush, serve as skirmishers. A lot of this came from the British experience fighting in the French and Indian War here during the 1750s, early 1760s. This is a totally different atmosphere and environment than it was over fighting on the European continent. So these companies are going to be pulled from their mother regiments, and now they're going to be asked to work all together, something they've never done before, under commanders they do not know. It's going to be a jumble, and it will all really culminate here at Lechmere Point, where probably the British are going to doom themselves. Their crossing will begin on the night of April 18th from across the river. by probably 11 o'clock or so, the men are going to be arriving around here. There's not enough boats. Graves is not giving Gage enough transportation vessels to move these men efficiently, so they're going to have to do this in multiple waves. And off to the camera's left is where the water would have been. You can see how the road dips down and begins descending towards the modern day cutout where the water line is today. But this would have all been marshland. A very remote area. There would have only been maybe one farmhouse here. This is swampy, terrible ground. And when the British do get off of those vessels, the first wave, they're going to be forced to stand out here in these marshes in the freezing cold with water up to their knees, up to their waist. And they'll wait and wait and wait until finally, about 2 hours later, all of these men are made across. And then they're going to form up here and wait again for about another 2 hours. So the British are not going to begin their actual advance towards Lexington, towards Concord, until about 2 o'clock in the morning. So they're miserable. They have about a day's worth of rations. They get some Navy rations from Graves, but it's really just ship's biscuits, hardtacks, infested with maggots, so they throw a lot of that away. They're pretty in an abysmal shape up to this point, so frustration is going to be running pretty rampant amongst these men. And once they get the orders to start their march, well, they don't even know what their target is at this point. It hasn't been relayed to the officers, it hasn't been relayed to the men. So this is just a blind march through the darkness, through the muddy countryside. And once they finally get on the road, they realize they have to cross a creek not far from here. There's a wooden bridge. Lieutenant Colonel Smith doesn't want to use that bridge, creates too much noise, so he orders his men to wade through this waist-deep water. So they get wet a second time before they even get out of the Cambridge area. But once they're on the road, they're making their way, moving about 4 miles per hour at a very, very quick rate, moving through towns on their way towards Lexington, on their way towards Concord. And obviously they do not know that they are marching towards battle, but that of course is the case because in just a few hours these men are going to meet the Lexington militia on the town green.
So as Billy said, we have a lot more to cover. We're going to continue on. As we've been filming, the helicopters flying by, which I'm sure Gage will love that. And also, you can't see them now, but there's been British regular reenactors walking down the bottom of the hill. It's very surreal. They're not coming up here, which they should be coming up here if they really want to experience it right. But it's a really cool spot. We're here on 2nd Street, just a block off of Cambridge. So if you've never been here, like I said, they just moved the marker here. You can see it. It really kind of ties the whole story in. We focus a lot on the American experience, but obviously the British experience just as important as the American experience. And as Billy said, these men are miserable, and a lot of our kids are 20 years old or some are a little bit younger. They're not very old, not very well experienced, and now they're in a very hostile territory. And as they start marching out of here, they can hear the alarm guns going off in these towns and villages. They can hear riders going. So they pretty quickly know that they're walking down this road and the public around them has been alerted to their presence. So we're going to talk about that at our next stop. So stay tuned, keep watching us, and thanks for joining us.